Both Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk have been shot and killed. The suspect is Supervisor Dan White.
Did you know that in 1978, firefighter Dan White killed 2 men, blamed it on his high intake of junk food, and did not get a first-degree murder conviction? In 1978, a San Francisco former firefighter, Dan White, stood on trial for a possible first-degree murder conviction, which could get him either life imprisonment or the death penalty. In his defense, White's lawyers blamed his actions on high consumption of Twinkies, and White escaped the noose. Thus, the Twinkie Defense was born. 34 years later, a research study turned the ridiculous tongue-in-cheek argument into a scientific fact. Yes, high sugar intake can make you angry. Yes, margarine can make you aggressive. But why and how is this possible? Margarine is quite simply the unhealthy version of butter. Similar to that annoying cousin who causes a lot of mischief at Thanksgiving dinner but still shares your bed at night. Although it is made from vegetable oils, it lacks healthy unsaturated fat from vegetable oils. Beginning as a liquid, the oil is changed into a solid by infusing it with hydrogen gas, which changes the fat composition in the oils. This process is called hydrogenation. The unsaturated fats are replaced with saturated fats. But saturated fats are not the only unwanted fat found in margarine. If hydrogenation is incomplete, some of the carbon-carbon double bonds in the new product are transformed into dietary trans fatty acids, or trans fats, due to the high temperature. Even then, the unhealthy composites of margarine are not complete. Hydrogenation involves heating vegetable oils with nickel being used as a catalyst. Therefore, the possibility of nickel contamination also has to be considered. Finally, artificial coloring and flavoring are added to get a finished product. Needless to say, all this information is known, and margarine has been associated with adverse conditions such as heart disease, inflammation, diabetes, and insulin resistance. Another effect that would prove to be instrumental to the recent research on aggression was depression. Docosahexaenoic acid, or DHA, is a long-chain omega-3 fatty acid found mostly in the brain and retina. It plays a role in human cognition and has a strong antidepressant effect. The trans fats found in margarine disrupt the conversion of fatty acid into DHA, increasing the risk of depression in individuals. The reduced levels of DHA in severely depressed people support this. Although all of this information was known, scientists could not show the link between trans fat consumption and adverse behaviors. Fortunately, researchers at the School of Medicine, University of California, San Diego, would take a deeper look at the subject and produce an explanation. The question posed by Beatrice Golem, a physician and an associate professor at the University of California, was quite simple. Does trans fat affect behavior? After noting the interaction between DHA and trans fat in food products like margarine, she wondered if the presence of these unhealthy fats could cause significant changes in individuals. It turned out she was right, and she made her findings public in 2012 with an online report published as PLOS ONE. Golem worked with researchers from the School of Medicine, UC San Diego, to provide answers to her question and the evidence for the public. The research involved 945 participants from both genders, both Caucasians and other minorities, and across all age ranges. Participants were questioned on their history with aggression, conflict tactics, assessed their behaviors, and asked to rate their impatience and irritability on an overt aggression scale. Recent altercations and other forms of aggressive behavior were also considered. Factors like sex, age, education, and alcohol intake were taken into account, and the analysis results had adjustments for them in place. The study concluded that there was a link between trans fatty acids and increased levels of aggression. In Golem's words, "We found the greater trans fatty acids were significantly associated with greater aggression and were more consistently predictive of aggression and irritability across these measures tested than in other known aggression predictors that were assessed." Without mincing words, Golem and her team of researchers are saying that the more margarine a person consumes, the more aggressive they become. Of course, you may be tempted to ask, do donuts make people more annoying? Or being an annoying person makes you hungry for donuts? So far, the results of the study only suggests that high sugar intake can make you angry. It says nothing about what truly causes it. In light of this information, there is no denying the damaging effects of margarine on the human health. But there are far-reaching implications of Golem's research as it spills from nutrition into the legal scene. Although it is an informal term, Twinkie Defense is widely used in the legal world. As earlier stated in the video, it originated from the murder trial of San Francisco's former firefighter Dan White. Technically, it is a derisive label that was coined by reporters who covered the trial. White had killed San Francisco Mayor George Moscone and City Supervisor Harvey Milk and was likely to be convicted on first-degree murder charges. He was a former police officer and, like Milk, was also a city supervisor before the murder. While standing trial, his defense lawyer argued that his actions were a result of diminished rational capacity due to his depression, citing behavioral changes such as job quitting, his haggard appearance whereas he used to be clean-cut, and his switch from healthy cooked meals to junk food. His defense successfully got him a lesser sentence of voluntary manslaughter. The high-sugar snacks Twinkies were only briefly mentioned during the trial, but it stuck, and subsequently, the trial was referred to as the Twinkie Defense. The result of the trial vexed San Franciscans and caused the White Night Riot as the city protested the judgment. Committing murder because you ate Twinkies sounded too ridiculous. To their chagrin, the 2012 study has proved that overt aggression caused by sugar consumption could be possible. If this is true, how many more delinquents would use the Twinkie Defense and Golem's research to their advantage? What about those already convicted? Could an appeal be based on such findings? And all of it because someone ate French fries cooked with margarine? For fast food multinationals like McDonald's, the study becomes yet another issue to be addressed. Besides the problem of satisfying food inspectors and nutrition agencies, their customers would demand better nutritional value for their money. McDonald's had already begun to use new oil with less trans fats and more healthy fat in a bid to increase nutritional value before the research was published. Post-publishing, their reduction of trans fats content became justified. With increasing knowledge of trans fat association with aggressive behaviors, the cutback would be seen in other fast food chains. On October 17, 2006, Dwight DeMar took part in a clinical trial conducted by the National Institute of Health. The experiment was part of a medical study on the effects of the omega-3 fatty acids on the brain and was published by the American newspaper The Guardian. DeMar had a history of violence and crime and had been locked up so many times that he would confess it became a second home. He had been arrested for assault, battery, trespassing, and more. It would be after he nearly committed manslaughter that he would begin to seek help and get it through miracle pills administered by NIH. These miracle pills were doses of fish oil, which contains a good amount of docosahexaonic acid, or DHA. Although the study DeMar took part in preceded the University of California's study by 6 years, it did not make a pivotal discovery as the latter did. However, it did suggest that individuals may not be wholly responsible for their aggression, a theory that is now supported by science. The experiment proves that DHA is important for a more agreeable temperament. Given that food containing trans fats such as margarine are bad for DHA production, they can have truly adverse effects on our well-being. The researchers strongly advised against including trans fats containing food in prisons and school menus. Although the unhealthy conditions caused by margarine such as heart disease and diabetes is well known, margarine brands like Canola and Blue Band still record strong sales as margarine is often a cheaper option to butter. Some people have even developed a taste for it. Golem and her team hope that all these would be ignored by schools and prisons, and the best path is taken, which is stopping the use of margarine in frying common items on those menus like fries and donuts. If the association between trans fats and aggressive behavior proves to be causal, she said, this adds further rationale to recommendations to avoid eating trans fats or including them in foods provided at institutions like schools and prisons, since the detrimental effects of trans fats may extend beyond the person who consumes them to affect others.